You're listening to the Research Report Show
on Varsity Podcasts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Research Report Show on Varsity Podcasts. I'm Tinashe, and today we're joined by Fadzai Muramba, who's joining us from University of Cape Town. Say hi, Fadzai.
Hello.
Fadzai is joining us from UCT, like I said, where she's doing her Master's in Development Studies. And today she's going to walk us through a bit of her research. But before we get into that, Fadzai, maybe tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
So I'm originally from Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. I came to Cape Town to do my undergrad degree. So I did my undergrad at UCT, and now I'm doing my postgraduate studies at UCT.
Okay.
Basically, I like to be involved on campus, community service projects, and also off campus in mainly things to do with education.
Okay, that's good. So since, of course, we're on the Research Report Show, so you're here to walk us through your research interests and what you've been focusing on in your postgrad studies. So tell us a little bit about what you've been focusing on for your master's research.
So for my master's research project, I've been looking at urban food systems.
Okay.
Mainly in Harare in Zimbabwe.
Mm.
So food systems typically look at all the stuff that encompasses the processes that are involved in feeding the inhabitants of a city.
Okay.
So I'm using a case of Maputi production.
Mm-hmm.
So
what is Maputi?
So Maputi is puffed maize grain.
Yeah.
It's a derivative of maize. So it's similar to other puffed grains like Rice Krispies that you find. You also find rice cakes.
Yeah.
So it's similar in that it's just popped maize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you decided to look at the food systems in Harare, but focusing on the presence of Maputi in Harare.
Exactly.
Cool. So, based on that, so walk us again through your topic. So your topic was?
So I'm looking at urban food systems and using Maputi as a case study.
Okay.
So Maputi production as a case study to better understand urban food systems.
Okay. So what are the kinds of methods that you use to get this done? So in trying to understand these urban food systems, so what were you looking at specifically in Harare? Like, who were you talking to? What would fulfill your research?
Okay, so I did a couple of qualitative interviews with Maputi producers. So I went around looking for more people who are producing Maputi and had about a 45 minutes discussion with them.
Okay.
On top of that, I did factory walkthroughs. So I walked through the establishments where they're producing Maputi, asked them some questions, looked at how they did the process. And from that data that I collected, I also found out that it's important for me to collect samples of the Maputi. So I went around to different places buying Maputi. And yeah, so that's the data that I'm going to use to inform this research question.
I see. Okay, so what did you then learn about this presence of Maputi being supplied the way that it is in Zimbabwe right now? What did that tell you then about the food system there? Like, what drove you specifically to look at Maputi per se, and then what did you find from that?
So the idea to look at Maputi came from my supervisor. Mm-hmm. So he's part of the Consuming Urban Poverty project at the African Center for Cities at UCT.
Okay.
And what they're doing is that they're going to secondary cities in Africa, tracing particular food items. So they're going to Kisimu, Kitwe, Epworth in Zimbabwe, and they're tracking fish, maize, rice. So there are particular foods that they'll be tracing in those cities. So Maputi is one of the products that they're tracing in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Yeah. So I decided to just focus in on one aspect of the food system, which was the production of it, and just pick one product, which is Maputi.
Oh wow, that's interesting. So you're working on with under a blanket of a bigger project. So you are helping them. Is this research you've done now going to contribute to the bigger picture? Like what they're working on, the bigger project?
Yes, I would hope so, that it informs some of the stuff that they're doing. Though it's not directly linked to what they're doing, they have a particular method of how they're doing their work. And I sort of have mine. But the results would help each other. Their results would help me, and my results would help them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So earlier on, you mentioned that in your methodology, you did your interviews and a bit of, I guess, we'll call it participant observation, where you're walking through the factories. So out of that, what were some of the experience? I mean, like you said, you are originally from Zimbabwe, but did you do your interviews in China? Or like, what were some of the experiences like actually on the ground? Because, these days in research, we don't really have a lot of people who do actual field work. Usually we'll use documents or light interviews, Skype, and all of that. So what was that experience like? Because you had to go to Zimbabwe to do this. So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
So the most challenging part of this research was actually going to the various industrial sites, asking for permission to see their factories, asking for permission to interview whoever's in charge. You also have to go with the timetables of whoever is in
production
charge
and everything. Yeah.
because they can say I'm busy.
Mm-hmm.
Come on Tuesday. You go on Tuesday. They ain't on there on Tuesday. You call them. So a lot of time was just spent on the phone, literally trying to connect these people, trying to ask them for permission, visiting them. So perseverance, really.
Wow.
Is one word.
But were the factories at least close to each other? All of them were in Harare.
Not really. Some were on the outskirts of Harare in Chitumbiza and Norton.
Yeah.
Also went to Norton. So it was Harare and surrounding areas.
Okay. And now that you're back and you're actually doing your analysis now, so what are some of the findings you would want to share with our listeners of what you were looking for around, of course, urban food systems, and what are the results that you have and what are they informing us about?
So I had particular assumptions when I went into the research. I was thinking that this product has increased in terms of production, in terms of the number of people who are producing the product, also in terms of variety. So from when I compare it to the time when I grew up, so they just used to be salted flavor. Now you find tomato, spice, flavor, salt and vinegar. So I just wanted to understand, this changing urban food system in Harare. So some of my assumptions were met that, yes, this product is increasing in the amount that is produced. Also, it's increased in variety. Also, the players that are getting into it are far more than they were maybe 10 years ago. And most of the players have only entered the field maybe in the last 10 years.
And why is that? Why is there this huge increase of the presence of how that community is having Maputi in there?
So you mean like why is there now more people getting
it's a snack, right?
Yeah.
Like you said. So why is there a bigger presence now? Because I know I'm asking maybe from the side of Zimbabwe, there's a lot of things happening right now. So I know the market is constantly changing. So did that directly affect? Why is Maputi an important thing? Are people buying more of it now? Is it more popular? Why is it more popular?
So that definitely is something that I was trying to interrogate the research. Why is it now? Is it that it's now more popular, or is it just more widely available so people just have access to it more? And my perception from the producers is that people now are eating this not only as a snack, but also as a substitute for a meal, as a more filling snack as opposed to buying crisps.
Oh wow!
And things like that. That's their perception, and the perception that I got why there's so many more producers getting into the field or into this industry is that from the outside it looks easy to get into, and you don't need a lot of inputs or a lot of capital to get into the business. So that sort of answers both sides. Why people seem to be eating more, why it seems like more people are getting into
the business itself. Yeah. Okay. And any other results you would love to share with us about? I know I distracted you by asking why Maputi is actually there, but of the findings that you had, what else would you like to share with us about some of the things that inform what is happening in Harare right now?
I found it very interesting that the ingenuity and entrepreneurship behind making this product. From the outside, it looks pretty simple, but it actually has very much technical aspects. You need to be able to work that Maputi gun to get your margins because it's a bulky product. So you need every grain of maize that you use to pop.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So that you are essentially using less maize per packet.
I see what you mean.
So it's and then you have to transport it, and it's a bulky product, so now you need a lorry. So logistics involved in it are very demanding. So I found the entrepreneurship spirit that these workers have is very high in trying to figure out all the pros and cons and trying to make it work. So that was something that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because when you see a product, you make your own analysis of, I think this was quite quick to make. I mean, This must have been straightforward. Only to find that there's always layered experiences to that experience, that work experience. So what is next for this? Since you said it's a much bigger project, touching in Kenya and other places. So for you, is this the end of looking at urban food systems? Has this always been an interest for you? Like, would you do this further into a PhD, I guess? Yeah.
I think I would. Urban food systems are important to me because African cities are growing. And as they're growing, the poor within them are growing. And it's important to figure out the food system of a country or of a city so that we can sort of maximize on opportunities within that and also try overcome the challenges within that food system.
I see.
To help the most vulnerable in cities. So I think it's a very important topic to keep digging into. Whether I would do it in this capacity, I don't know. But urban development has always been something that I'm interested in.
Okay, so are you going to be pursuing a PhD anytime soon?
Yeah, I would pursue a PhD in urban development in the upcoming years.
Okay. Well, that's lovely. Thank you so much for that, Fadzai. And of course, we can go on and on about research-based things, but I'm sure our listeners would love a chance to get to know you a little bit more. So outside of the academic world, which we constantly are in, what do you do for fun? Are you part of any scholarships? Like things that, you are assigned to and what you like to do when you're not part of the academia side of things.
So I'm a Mastercard Foundation scholar.
Okay. That is a big deal.
That's got a lot of academics attached to it, but it also has a lot of fun attached to it, a lot of leadership aspects attached to it, a lot of community service, always trying to find a way to sort of give back because we've been given to sort of aspect. So I enjoy their community service projects. They're always trying to link us up to something. So that's one aspect of my life. The other more personal side is I cook.
Okay.
So at some point in my life, I wanted to be a chef. I convinced myself of that, and I went and got a couple of diplomas.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
In cooking
Dinner
and
patisserie. Yes. That is awesome. So are you going to use these skills later on?
I think so. I use them now. That's how I eat.
Come on. I feel like I'm already seeing a big business here.
Well, business is more than cooking. I've come to realize. So I don't know if I would ever use them. Maybe I'll start a restaurant or something. I would have to have somebody with the business aptitude and entrepreneurship skills. But I like good food. I'm really good at telling what's good and what's not.
I see.
And deciphering what ingredients people put in, and then I go home and I reconstruct it the way that I like.
Okay.
So that's something that I do. That and reading fiction, novels. It's really how I like to pass the time.
Oh, that is lovely. Wow, what a very diverse person you are. I'm coming to your place for dinner. But on that note, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you so much for joining us here on the Research Report Show. Personally, I think I've never really thought about food systems, like what actually the presence of certain products and how they are being moved tells you about that community or what's happening in that country per se. So I'm sure some of my listeners, they've also learned a few things. So thank you so much. And I hope that if you continue doing more work and you'll join us again here on the Research Report Show. So to you guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. I will catch you again next time. This is Tinashe and signing out. Bye.
This is Varsity Podcasts.